Okay, hi. Today's topic will be on security penetration testing at RTL level. It looks different from your schedule because I summarized the topic. It's talk about the same thing, it's just because the title was too long, I shortened it. Okay, for the agenda, I'm going to share about why doing penetration testing at RTL level. And then next, I will talk about how to do penetration testing at RTL level and how can you apply this. So on the first agenda, why doing penetration testing at RTL level? So let's look at the product life cycle. We have for the product development, we have multiple phases. First is the exploration phase, and then the planning stage, and then development stage, and then finally the production stage. For each of these stages, there is a lot of engineering activity, and it is to ensure the success of the product. And basically, I'm going to focus on the design and validation, which they started not long after the exploration phase. The design starts with architectural design, and then move on to architecture simulation. And then on the validation side, they will start with the planning. As the time moves on, we were going to have the design, getting the RTL code ready. And then the pre-silicon validation is going to start validating on this RTL code. And as time moves on, we go to schematic and layout, and then we finally tape out the product. And it was at this time the post-silicon validation start. And they will be very busy when the silicon come back, and they will do all the testing, run all the tests, make sure that they catch all the bugs before the next stepping, so that if there is any bug, we can get it fixed in time. And then we will launch a product, and there's an end of life of the product. So where is this penetration testing come into this picture? Normally, we do penetration testing at silicon, when the time silicon is back and before the next stepping. So this is a relative short time in this whole product life cycle. With that, we encounter several issues during the pen testing at the post-silicon stage. Because it's a very short evaluation time, we don't really have enough time to do all our testing. And we decided that we need a new methodology. And before we define a new methodology, we need to set up a new requirement for our methodology. So due to this short evaluation time, we require that we want to find the security vulnerability early, meaning that we want to find it before the silicon come back. And the next issue we have is we depend a lot on the silicon and firmware, which are always delivered late at the point of the time then after this after tape out. It's the schedule, we can never have it early. And our testing methodology rely on the silicon, and which is come together with the platform, and we need a firmware that run on it. So we can not do the testing earlier because of the need that we have. And so we set up that in our new methodology, we require that a method that independent of firmware and silicon. And the next issue we have is if we ever find any vulnerability in our evaluation at this stage of time, we may require fixes that is very difficult to put in. Sometimes we may find the vulnerability just before the next stepping going to tap out. So in that way, sometimes we require another stepping just to fix the vulnerability. So it becomes that very expensive for us to fix it in the hardware. So in our new requirement, we want that to find a defects when they are very easy to fix. So with that, we propose a new methodology. Our proposal is to perform the pen testing at RTL level, which is at the pre-silicon phase. And we want to reuse the pre-silicon validation methodology and tools because it's convenient. Since we are doing the testing at the same time as the pre-silicon validation, so we decided that why not we just reuse their methodology and tools. And we found that with this new methodology, we can meet the requirement that we set earlier. As it can start as soon as RTL design is ready, which is very early at the stage that at the development stage. And this is a methodology that commonly used to validate the hardware, and they are independent of the firmware and the silicon. And we want to find bugs when they are easy to fix. So how do we do the pen testing at RTL level? We have the pre-silicon methodology to do our security testing, but can we just apply it directly? Of course, there are some differences, different emphasis, different focus in doing validation and doing security pen testing. So how are we go about it? So first of all, we look at functional validation. In the functional validation, we normally have an RTL model. So in the RTL model, we have RTL code, which is a design under test. And normally, in the RTL model, it comes together with this test bench. Test bench is a virtual environment to verify a design. So in the test bench, we have BFM, which is a fast functional model. It helps to simulate the behavior of the hardware system, and it could have a proper protocol defined for us to run the test easily. And we have a tracker. Tracker it serves as an observer to monitor the traffic that go in and out from this RTL code, so that we can know what is happening. And then we have the test to generate those stimulus to the RTL model. And of course, the validation, the functional validation, their goal is to find bugs. So they run all this testing just to make sure that we manage to find the bugs. And so how security testing is different? As you can see on the functionality, in the security, there's two different directions. Functionality, if we have an unexpected functionality, is a bonus, it's fine. But on the security side, unexpected functionality it can be a problem because hacker can use it to attack our product. So in our testing, both functional validation and security testing, our goal is different. Our goal is the same. We want to find bugs, but the difference is in the conventional validation, we want to ensure that the product works correctly. It works correctly under anticipated condition. Under security testing, we want to make sure that our design is able to defend against attack. It's like a game of chess where designer was the attacker, and attacker always get the last move. And when we have a security feature in our product, the validation team is expected to test that the feature works correctly. For example, an encryption algorithm, the validation team is supposed to make sure that the algorithm behave correctly and design correctly. But the security testing will make sure that we can defend if there is any attack. So how we do it in our pen testing and how we apply it on this security testing in the RTL level. So first, we start with a spec review, a security specification review. And then we move on to define a threat model. And with that, we put it into the validation environment. And then we will implement attacks and check, we implement our tests. And if we have any obstacle means that sometimes the design already have defenses. The architect already put in defenses. So the attack won't be very direct. So we need to overcome those attacks and need to find how to properly test it. And when we have done all this, we run the simulation. If it is failed, meaning that it failed our check. Failing check can mean a few things. It can mean that it hit the asset that we try to protect. So if it really can access to those data that we want to protect, then it definitely is a bug. So we need to fix the design. And then we need to verify the fix, and we need to go over the loop again to implement a new attack to make sure that this fix is robust. And the other thing, sometimes it failed our check, but it didn't really hit the target. So we may want to go back to the test and to tune our test to make sure that it can hit the target. And sometimes it doesn't hit the target just because the design already defends it. So we need to analyze this attack, and if the test did not fail, and after we analyze it and we satisfied that the design is robust against all the attack, we decide that we should move on to the next attack, next scenario. So let's go through each of these steps. So first of all is the security specification review. So on the security specification review, normally we can find the security objective in the spec. It should stated clearly there by the architect. And we need to look for the asset, we need to look for the track agent, we need to look for the access control. So the access is data we want to protect. The track agent is an entry point that can exploit the asset of the system. Access control, it can be registered in the design. Something like configuration register, I/O register, or memory map register that could give us ability to change the control or change the routing of the traffic. So next, we will define our track model. Here I show an example. So in this example, we have 5 entry points, entry point 0, entry point 1, 2, 3, and 4. And out of these 5 entry points, we have 3 places that can utilized by an attacker. The other 2 is not, maybe it's because they cannot act as a master, they do not have the ability to issue a cycle. And the other one we found out is where is the asset. So the asset is sit at the corner there. And the blue circle there is the access control. So the access control sometimes is spread over the design. It was implemented in many places. So we need to check all those. So with this track model, how do we put it in the simulation environment? So we have the validation model here. In the middle is the design under test, which we have the design inside, which is similar to the track model just now. You have the entry point 0 to 4, you have the asset, and had the access control. And then in the validation environment, we have a test bench, and they come together with a BFM tracker. So each of these BFM sit at the entry point of this model. BFM is help to issue the cycle or receive the cycle, and the tracker will be the observer and track all the transactions there. So with that, we can implement attacks and check. So for this model, it's easy to do the attack. We know that the attacker came from entry point 0, entry point 1, and entry point 4. So we do our test by issue cycle from BFM sit at entry point 0, 1, and 4. And we issue the cycle targeting the asset. And we write a check at the asset there and state that if the track agent accessing those data we want to protect, for example, encryption key, then it should give an alert message when our test hit this area. And if we're able to do that, we are done. However, there's not usually not very direct if we to do this, because the design sometimes does consider this situation. And so before we go that, let's look at the pen test and check. So when we want to do issue cycle, we need to write tests. So there are many ways to write the test. There's many type of script can help you to do the test. Basically, I've talked about focus test and random test here. For focus test, you can write specific cycle targeting certain scenario, like the model just now. You can write a focus test, just write from the cycle issue from entry point 0 to the asset, and you can just run the test. And for random tests, you can use a test generator to generate the test. However, that does not guarantee that it do this type of testing for you. You can generate many tests, but you may not target your asset, or you may not even issue it from the track agent. So what we do on the random testing is we write coverage point. So coverage point is a guide for us to hit certain scenario. If not hit, then we can go back and generate the cycle again until we hit it. On the check, there are many ways to implement the check. The primary check for security testing, of course, is we want to make sure the test fails when the asset is under attack. We can implement other type of check in the model. This is to help us to test it more efficiently. Of course, we do not want to implement too many redundant check. So we will selectively implement the check at the place where potential attack can happen to the logic path that leads to the asset. And we can implement the check in many forms. One of the ways is we can use a post-processing script by collecting the data at the tracker. We can do RTL assertion. And we can also even do protocol checker. We can implement the check at the BFM. So this is one of the examples that we have when we do our pen testing. This is how we write the coverage point and check. We are crossing out all the signal name because this is top secret. Okay. Next is I'm going to talk about the obstacle in the design. Actually, it's an obstacle for the pen testing. It's a defenses in the design implemented. So when we do this type of testing, we just issue the cycle from entry point 0, 1, and 4, and then targeting the asset. It sounds easy, but the design will block it. Your test will never able to reach this area. So the other obstacle that we have is usually when we define a track model, we look at the whole system. In the whole system is usually very big. It's big for RTL model because that will make our simulation run very slow. If we want to put the whole system under simulation, we may need to run the test for many hours, and we wonder what's going on. And sometimes the machine may hang. So how do we overcome these two obstacles? Of course, there are other obstacles that we have, but here I'm going to share just two of them. So overcoming the obstacle. One of the ways to overcome the obstacle is to get a list of the register. For example, the configuration register, memory map I/O register, or I/O register. And then we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Normally, the entry point from the track agent are blocked. The design will block it because the architect and the designer, they are not stupid. They know these are the area that attacker can get access, so they will block it. So we need to ask if this is blocked, and but the register that associate with this track agent, are they locked too? Sometimes they may not lock, because they are certified that if the entry point is blocked, there's no need to block the register. But sometimes this register can influence the logic path that going to this asset. So we want to look at how we can utilize it. Can that influence the path, and we may able to get into the asset. And the next thing we want to look at is the debug feature. And most of the time, debug features are not available in the production. But again, for debug feature, design usually implement lots of register to enable it. There are multiple steps to enable a debug feature. So we want to look at those register. Although it is locked, whether we can get this register to influence the path that we want to analyze. The other thing is we want to make sure that the register we look at are able to write. From a user point of view, we can write it. If this is a read-only register, it will be meaningless for an attacker. The other thing that we want to look at is the design weaknesses. We want to get the list of design weaknesses. We want to know the motivation for the designer to implement the design in such a way. Sometimes they may design it due to cost, because they already have a design and they want to add in feature. They may not want to redo the whole design, so they find way that which is the easiest to implement the design. Sometimes in the way that they do this, they may sacrifice some security concern. So if we know the motivation behind it, then it helps us to make a better penetration testing. And we also want to look at some debug capability, whether we can use it as a backdoor. Of course, they don't design it as a backdoor, but we want to see that we can utilize it. And also, in every generation of a product, we don't implement every product from scratch. So we add in feature on the existing design. So this new feature added in, it may cause some existing protection to be broken. So we want to look at those. So in overcoming the obstacle one, we look at the access control. So there are multiple access control implemented here. There are access control that influence the path from the entry point 0, and also like at the entry point 1, and entry point 4, and also at the asset there. And you may have an access control which influence all the path. And also we consider the design weaknesses. For example, there is a path where entry point can issue a cycle going directly to entry point 0, but somehow they may implement a debug feature that can redirect the traffic. So if we change the access control and influence this debug feature, and this traffic may get redirected and get into the data that we want to protect. And when this happens, our assertion check should be able to flag it and tell us that the traffic already redirected. Of course, we can do this from each of the entry point that we have defined. So this can happen to entry point 0 and can happen to entry point 4 also. So the next obstacle that we are facing is the simulation at the full chip model is very time consuming. So what happened is the validation team, they do partition the design in their own environment. So they do cluster testing that help them to run the simulation faster and get the validation done faster. So for this design, this is how they partition it. They partition it in multiple clusters. So on the cluster 1, we find that our entry point 0 is in the cluster 1. And the entry point 1 is in the cluster 2. And then entry point 4 is in the cluster 3. And our asset is in cluster 4. So how to do pen testing in this situation? Because the threat agent seems to come from everywhere in the different cluster. And the data we want to protect is in the different cluster. Let's look at it one by one. So earlier we know that the design weaknesses is in the cluster 1. So since the design weaknesses is in cluster 1, we may want to isolate our testing at entry point 1. But how do we take care of cluster 2, 3, and 4? So we can replace this cluster 2 and 3 by a BFM. Why only one BFM? In this particular design, it so happened that this cluster 1 only see the entry point as 1 because it go through some arbitration, and then the final outcome that going to cluster 1 is only 1 entry point, but the arbitration is done at the earlier level. So we only need one BFM in this cluster 1. But what happened to our asset because it's still outside the cluster? So how do we take care of it? So one way is we could look at the logic path that lead to this asset. Once we find out the logic path that leads to the asset, we can move this asset into the cluster 1 RTL model, meaning that we replace the path that going to this asset as an asset. And if we and then we write the assertion check on this asset and also on the access control, which potentially can redirect the traffic. And then it can if you influence the path, then the alert message will flash out. So with that defined, our test written, we run the simulation. So this is one example of the waveform that we have. There are a couple of ways to run the simulation. We can run it in interactive mode. We can also run in batch mode. In interactive mode, usually we do it when we still develop the test. we are debugging the test. And in the batch mode is when we run regression. So in the batch mode, if you write those assertion check or whatever check you have, if you feel the script will flag out the error message, you still can catch it. You don't need to always observe the waveform. Okay. So once you run the simulation, if the test fail, meaning the alert message flash out. Okay, the alert message flash out because the traffic get redirected, but it didn't really get into the asset, the path that we want it to go. So we may want to rerun the simulation and maybe fine-tune our test. So we may try at a different attribute on the same type of cycle, or we want to try a different type of cycle. So after we analyze all this, if we find that the design have well protection on this, we may want to move on to different thing. But if not, we will continue to rerun the test and to make changes on the test. So if it hit the asset, yes, definitely this is a bug. You will want the design to fix it. So once the design fix it, we want to rerun the test and make sure that the design is robust enough against a new fix. So how can you apply this? So first of all, we need to, I think, before we talk about how can you apply this, we may want to ask who can apply this method. Security consultant who have access to the RTL code, they can apply this, which is very obvious. But can anybody else apply this method? Yes, you can. Yes, you can do it. So how are you going to apply this method? So what do you need? You need an RTL code. You can get a free open source IP. The information is in the link that I shown here. But if you are rich or you want to spend money, or you can get a commercial IP, which a lot of companies that are designing a product, they actually buy the IP from some developer. The next one is get a simulator. Again, there are open source logic simulator. There are also commercial logic simulator. If you don't want to spend money, there are free open source simulator. But you need to check the weaknesses of some of these simulator. Some of them may not be very accurate. But you just want to try it out and play with it, you can try the free one. If you have money and want to spend more, you can get it from a commercial logic simulator. There are some examples on this. There's a logic sim, model sim, VCS. There are many types. You can get the whole list at the link here. And the other thing we want to get is get a specification. Let's say you want to run pen testing on the RTL code. Most of the time, RTL code is so small in the whole system. you need to understand where is this RTL code, this piece of RTL code used in the product. You may want to check out how is it relate to the asset, how is it relate to an attacker, and what are the access control that you can change. So once you get this, you have a better idea how you can attack this RTL code. And if you cannot find, after you read through the spec and find that this piece of RTL code has no relationship at all with all these things, then perhaps you should look for another RTL code that have a relationship to this asset and tracker and access control. And do you need BFM, tracker, test bench, and test? Yes, you need it, but it depends on how big is the scale of your simulation. If you run on the very small piece of the RTL code, you may not need all this trouble because if a small RTL code, it may have only one input. You can inject the vector directly at the simulator. BFM is good because it helps you to apply the input in a way that it meets the protocol requirement. Tracker is good because it helps you to observe the signal. But if you have a small piece of design, you can observe it by your own eye. And test bench, similarly, if this is very small scale of the simulation, you may not really need it. For test, you just apply the vector as a stimulus into your RTL code. But if you work on a bigger design, you will need all this because it will be very tedious to look at the vector one by one. You may have 100 or 1,000 of signal input to the system. You definitely need a BFM. Perhaps it's more than one BFM. You may need multiple BFM and multiple tracker to track it. And you need a good test bench so that you can run the simulation more effectively. And so when you have all these, you can have fun hack the RTL. Okay, next, so for acknowledgement, I want to thank my colleague, Lo Wei-Ki, to make this happen, and all the SICO members for reviewing all these slides. And the next thing is advertisement. So this is Intel product security website. You can visit this website to understand more about Intel product security, or if you want to report the security issue, you can go to this website. Okay, next, despite the stock market, Intel is hiring. And this is my email address. If you are interested in this topic and want to discuss more, you can contact me. Okay. Any question? No question? Okay, thank you.